firefighting. That is the biggest thing. Whenever I walk into an organic lab, all the students typically cower in fear. Because, you know, I am 6'5" and 300 pounds. I'm a big guy. Right? But most of the TAs, the returning TAs will tell you, I'm a big teddy bear. I have a big booming voice, but that's about it. That's pretty much all I got. So if I walk into your lab, or if Ms. Bauer walks into your lab, I know she's a very tall woman, she tends to intimidate students a lot. Don't be intimidated. If you have a question, ask it. Of either one of us, or of Dr. Patterson, or of Dr. Gray. Dr. Gray is also not a small man. He's very tall like myself. So don't be intimidated. If you have a question, ask it. That's the last one that just came up as we were walking out of the room. But anybody else that is a returning TA, if you have something, I know several of you said things while we were in the room, feel free to speak up.
I think for those, and I kind of said this like as for everybody, but it's always good to have like the stockroom's number, like maybe Rachel or, you know, your prep or just the stockroom in general, the other Rachel, the big Rachel, just so like, you know, if you're out of something, you don't have to send a student up all the time. Like, you know, send students up for things like filter paper, what else, like chem wipes, so little things like that. But when you're out of a chemical or something, it's easier for y'all just to call us and just say, hey, like we need this chemical, we just ran out of it, rather than sending a student, because not always will the student know what it is or what the chemical is, or will they know what amount they need. So just, you know, having that number available for your use, you know, it's always good to be able to call us. There's only 8 of us, that's what we were talking about earlier in the stockroom, so I think it'll be a lot easier to be on a more personable level, I guess you could say, but yeah.
For the record, those back there work in the stockroom. They're also TAs, which is fantastic, so they know both sides of the situation, they know both sides of the story. So, the number, for those of you that would like the number to the stockroom, if you want the number to the stockroom, I give all of my TAs Ms. Bauer's personal cell phone number as well. I'm sure it will be in other handouts whenever you get it, but if you would like the stockroom number right now, the number is obviously 512-245, and it is 3118. So that is the number to the stockroom. It's a direct line to the stockroom. If you call that, somebody from the stockroom will answer that during their operating hours. There's always somebody in the stockroom that can answer that phone. And as Michael was saying, they're down to 8 people in the stockroom, so this goes back to what we were talking about yesterday. When you call the stockroom, ask politely to get what you need. Don't demand to get something from the stockroom. And if you ask politely, they will bring it to you in as timely a manner as they can get around to. Remember, there are 150 lab sections going on every week, so they are pulled in a lot of different directions, and with only 8 people, sometimes there's only 2 people working the stockroom at a time. So they have other things that are going on. So be patient, and be patient, be polite, be respectful, and they will do the same. So, anything else? All right, come on, guys. You guys had some.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon.
I would say, first and foremost, and you've probably all heard this before, consistency is key. Okay, so know your syllabus and stick to it. If you follow that guide, it won't steer you wrong. Okay, so remember that and be consistent with everybody that you deal with. And like I talked about a little bit yesterday, there's a fine line between establishing a relationship and a rapport with your students and them expecting you to do the lab for them. So you've got to set that precedent up front that you're there to guide them, not to do it for them. So just remember that.
And to take it to the extreme, right? There's always the shock and awe factor, right? Whenever you walk into the room the first time, right, you lay down the law. This is the way it's going to be, right? And anybody that's had me for a class knows that I come in and I lay down the law the first day. I say no cell phones, none of this stuff. And then as the semester goes on, you can always get more lenient. Right? You can always back off, you can always allow a little bit more things for them to get away with, but if you be really strict at the beginning of the semester, right, the chances of them doing something that they're not supposed to do are a lot smaller. So keep that in mind. You can always get easier. It's very difficult to get more strict as the semester goes along. So I think that was one that was brought up. Elizabeth?
I think that I want to echo what you just said. I think that's especially important if you are short and female. I'm only afflicted with one of those things, but the small ladies.
Afflicted.
Well, sometimes me females. So, you know, sometimes you can be, I've noticed this with other lady TAs who are not as outspoken as I am, that sometimes classes certain sections will just get rowdy, and they can have issues getting things back under control. So, you know, find your big voice and establish right away, off the bat, I am your TA, I'm in charge of this lab, you're going to, you know, follow my instructions, and I'll be nice to you if you're nice to me, et cetera, but definitely lay that down, put that very strongly.
I actually have something to come on. Don't forget that when you're in that space, you're not just in charge of the room, you're responsible for it. That means you're responsible for everybody who's in the room. If something goes wrong in your room, it's on you, at least initially, until that gets sussed out. So don't be afraid to take charge of the room that you're in. You own it,
Right.
and you own what happens in it.
I'll add something to that. As a coordinator, I'm pretty sure Dr. Patterson and Dr. Gray will back me up on this one as well. If somebody is doing something and they're really egregious about doing something and you told them 3 or 4 times to quit doing it, their attitude is still extremely poor, and they won't do it, kick them out of the lab.
Yeah.
I don't care, right? Kick them out of the lab. If they will not listen to you, they do not need to be in that lab. And if you have a problem kicking them out of the lab, if you don't feel comfortable kicking them out of the lab, I don't care whose lab section you're in, call me. I'll do it. I will do it.
What about night labs when there's a limited amount of people there?
When there's a limited amount of people, I'm very, very confident, he's not here, he's a former TA, and Mr. Montalvo will gladly do that. Those of you that know him know that he would not have a problem doing that. If it's a night lab and you need something, you have a problem student, you need help handling a student, call the stockroom. They're there to help. The people that are in the stockroom have dealt with students before, they know how to do it. So, yeah, Jennifer.
She kind of brought up a point with night labs. Are all of our faculty going to be on campus until our labs are over, or
No.
is there going to be like a designated person
Yes.
that we contact
Yes.
every night?
Faculty members are not required to be here. The lab faculty members, the lab coordinators, and myself, Dr. Gray, Dr. Patterson are not required to be here. But Mr. Montalvo will be here on Tuesday and Wednesday night. He will be here until 9:20 or 9:30, whenever the stockroom shuts down. He will be here Tuesday and Wednesday night. And Dr. Craig Damon, who is a new lecturer in our department, who is going to be teaching Chemistry 1310, will be here on Thursday night. So there will be a senior faculty member, right, somebody of authority in the department. If you have problems, if you run into problems, if you have an emergency, they're required to be here. And other days of the week, so that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday and Friday, faculty members are required to sign up for time to be after hours emergency contacts.
Okay.
So there is always a faculty member or a safety officer present at any time any lab is running.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
My plan is Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. I will be in here from 6:45 to about 8:15 doing a study session, so I'm right next door. If you need help quick, I'm right here.
There's always a safety officer. We're required to have a safety officer, somebody that is in charge here during your lab. So the stockroom will have at least 2 people in it every night of the week that labs are running, as well as the safety officer who is on duty that night. So there will always be people here to help you. So don't feel like you're ever alone, even if you're here at 9:20 at night. And along with, this goes a completely different route. If you're here late at night and you don't feel comfortable walking home, right, Bobcat Bobby's.
Absolutely.
It's on the website. I know it's been talked about before. I'm gonna remind you guys. Especially you ladies that don't wanna be walking across campus at night. You might not feel comfortable walking across campus at night, call Bobcat Lobbies. They will provide you with transportation to and from your dorm, if you're living in a dorm, or to the bus stop, or anything like that. And, you know, at the risk of sounding a little bit creepy, if you need a ride home, call me, I'll come give you a ride home. I mean, my biggest concern is you guys being safe whenever you leave here late at night, because I know it's dark, and I know you guys might potentially be scared going home.
But
You need a ride?
nobody should be walking alone
No.
on campus after dark. There's been too many crazy things that have happened these past couple of
So,
years.
just, yeah, that's a little bit over the edge as far as that's concerned, but, you know, I have no problem doing it. So, anything else? Kelsey, you had your hand up a couple times.
This is kind of going back to what was said, but this is kind of something that I experienced my first semester, and I didn't really know about it, but really establish that you're the TA, and ladies, I'm kind of talking to you, if there's a student that is giving you any bit of trouble, and especially is harassing you, and just like saying things that you're not comfortable with, one, shut them down, let them know that you're the TA, and two, if it keeps persisting, tell someone and address it really quick. Otherwise, it's gonna continue throughout the semester. That's not okay. Really just let the students know that they're a student, you're the TA. It's not okay for them to keep messing with you throughout the semester if that's happening.
There will definitely be students that are older than you.
Yep.
Like, maybe not, but.
There will be students that are older than me
Yeah.
in your labs potentially. I mean, so, you know, I have, sometimes whenever I walk into a classroom, right, it does kind of get to me when I walk into a classroom. I've had people that are, you know, 20 years older than me in my class, right? And it's one of those gut check moments. And you have to come in, you're the TA, you're their boss, you're in charge of their grade, right? Let them know that, straight up front. The best example of somebody that you would never expect to be in charge of a lab and never have problems with whenever you first look at her, Dr. Gray will back me up on this, Ashton Plummer is the #1 example of a person who, when you first look at her, you look at her and you say, she's gonna have trouble controlling her classroom. Because she was about this tall, and she was really quiet when you talked to her, but you walk in that lab, she was the boss. And everybody in that lab knew she was the boss. Right? Make that very clear whenever you walk in the lab. Goes for guys too. Right? And if you walk into a lab, make sure they know you're the boss. Don't let anybody give you a hard time either. Right? I'm just talking to the ladies in the room. So.
And to kind of piggyback on that back there, we're all a team. You know, some of us have more experience than others. But the point is, we have to respect each other, and we need to communicate in a good manner. There's a time and a place for things. Over the past few semesters, I've heard many examples, seen many examples of TAs talking about other TAs and a job that they may or may not be doing well. There is a time and a place, and if a student catches wind of that, it undermines the entire department. So if you see an opportunity to coach another TA up on something that they're doing wrong, do that. Don't talk behind their backs, and don't get these gossip parties going. Because whether you're a part of it or not, or whether you're the one that's doing it wrong, it undermines you. Because we're a unit. Okay, so remember that.
Yeah, I would say like along those lines, your job isn't to fail people. Like, obviously if they don't do a good enough job in the class, then they deserve to fail them. But like every semester there's a handful of TAs that you hear them in the computer labs talking about how stoked they are to like input failing grades, and it's just like, if you're one of those people, you should probably search within yourself and figure out why you're so stoked about giving grades, first of all. But you know, don't talk about that, you know, where other students can hear it, and just with other TAs.
Yeah, you want your students to get good grades.
Yeah.
That looks good on you.
Yeah.
You want your
And
students
you
to
have
earn
the power
good
over their
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah.
grades. You want your students to earn good grades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But you know
It's,
that-
change the terminology there. You want your
Yeah.
students to earn good grades.
They walk into zero, they have to earn that A.
Anything else from you guys returning? We pretty much covered a lot of it.
I do want to add one quick thing before we go, back to the intimidation thing. There will be questions from from your students that you don't know the answers to. And it's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that question, but let me find out. And then go ask your coordinator. If you don't understand something, don't feel like you're stupid for not understanding it. Try to find out, and that's gonna better yourself as well. There's no stupid questions, like, if there's a week that you're not super certain on why we're doing a lab, ask your coordinator and ask them to do like a little rundown with you as far as like the chemistry behind it, for sure. Because you want your students to be able to understand that as well as you do. And if you don't understand it fully, that could be an issue, not that, that can't be resolved with asking the question. So don't be afraid to ask questions as far as chemistry material.
I know I talked to you guys about that yesterday. For those of you that were here yesterday, I mentioned that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Can you tell she TAs for me? She's one of my better TAs. Well, all of them are great, so I shouldn't really say better, but I, you know, that's what I tell my TAs. Don't be afraid to ask questions. All right?